Joining us in the studio now is the Red Bull team principal, Christian Horner. A very warm welcome to you, Christian. How are you?
Morning, Christian.
Very good morning.
Thanks so much for joining us. I suppose listening to it all again, feels like it was just yesterday. You're not about to go straight into the new one. Have you managed to sit back and enjoy the win yet?
Well, listening to that, it brings it all back. But it doesn't seem that long ago. And, of course, as soon as Abu Dhabi was over, there was a bit of controversy to deal with at the end of it. But then it was Christmas and then straight into the new year. And we're gearing up very, very busily for a new season ahead.
Yeah, I suppose really the controversy is the elephant in the room, and we want to talk to you about a lot of different things that are going on in F1 at the moment. But as we've touched on it feels like a natural place to start. How did your team and the support system around everybody, including Max, handle that?
Well, it was an intense period. I mean, and you've got to look at the season over the 22 races that it was, and we had a lot of decisions go against us earlier in the year, and penalties that weren't awarded, and so on. And we got a little bit lucky at the end, and then sometimes that happens in sport. It's not over until the whistle goes or the flag falls. And tactically, we were sharp on that day, and when the crash came 5 laps from the end with Nicholas Latifi, we reacted immediately, and we got Max in. We pitted him for a new set of tyres. Mercedes left Lewis out on what would become 44-lap-old tyres at the end of their life. And then, obviously Max had to make that pass on the last lap, which he did. And I think there's been a bit of hiding around some of the controversy, because the bottom line was tactically we got it right. Max delivered the move and became the world champions. So it was a phenomenal result.
I think the rivalry was superb, though. I think that was great for Formula One. You saw it every week; it was changing, and I think that going forward, it's got to be one of the best rivalries, isn't it, in Formula One?
I think it was the best season in probably the last 40 years in Formula One,
definitely.
And the intensity of the rivalry between two titans. I mean, Lewis, the most successful driver of all time; Max, the up-and-coming, driver that he is, and just both of them. It was like heavyweight boxing. Just every race, it was just all about the two of them.
What sort of person is Max? Because you see him probably on a regular basis. He looks like he's got the raw hunger to be the best, and he's got a lot of catching up to do with Lewis Hamilton. But he's certainly got the potential, hasn't he?
Well, yeah, he's got that inner burning desire, and he's a real fighter. When you put him in the car, he's going to give you 110%. And outside the car, he's just a normal lad. He's just a nice guy that likes his sport. He's big into football. He loves his gaming. He's always, doing. I think he was doing a 12-hour race last weekend online. But he's just a nice guy. Doesn't lead a high-profile life, and just loves what he does.
Has it changed him at all?
No, not at all. To be honest with you. Obviously he's matured since he came to us as a 17-year-old, but he's still very much the same guy with the same values, and he's great to work with.
You mentioned the rivalries, and in any great sport, you have these rivalries, and you need these rivalries as well. And F1's been built on some incredible ones over the years. How important do you think it is that these rivalries continue?
I think in any sport, rivalry is a good thing. Whether it's football, whether it's cricket, whether it's motor racing, and I think that Formula One's in great shape at the moment. It's never been as popular as it is, and we're just fortunate that we've got the talent, like with Lewis, the most successful guy of all time, with these great youngsters coming through, with Max, and then obviously Lando Norris, George Russell, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz. It's a great, some great young talent out there.
And you just launched a new car, testing at Silverstone. How did that go?
Windy.
Well, he picked the wrong weekend.
But no, it was good. It's always exciting to see a new car. It's like a birth of a new child. It's seeing it run for the first time. It's all packed up and now on the way down to Barcelona, and then we'll be running there for 3 days just with one car. So both drivers have to share that. They get 3 days in Barcelona, 3 days in Bahrain, and then straight into the first race.
Perfect.
Tell us about the new regulations. So for the listeners at home that are not F1 experts, what can they expect and what's changed?
Well, the cars are going to look very different. So what they've done with the regs is to try and get the cars to be able to follow each other more closely, to be less interrupted by the aerodynamics. So the cars are quite a bit different in shape and design, and the whole purpose is to let the drivers race each other harder. So it's going to be fascinating to see if those rules work, and whether the racing actually gets even better than what we saw last year.
It's an awkward question, really, but it's, again, another elephant in the room that I wanted to ask you. And in the name of transparency as well, we wanted you to be able to have your say as well. Michael Massey's been removed as the race director. So a lot of people will be asking the question about how Lewis Hamilton might be feeling about that, how you guys are feeling about that. What do you think of that decision for a start?
I think that, look, it's a difficult one. It's the FIA's business. I think it's harsh. I think that he was in a very difficult position last year. We felt a lot of decisions went against us, last year. And I think that, when you look at what he has at his disposal in terms of resource compared to what the teams have, there's such a massive, massive difference. And I think it's good to hear they're bringing in things like the VAR equivalent, and they're bringing back one of the most experienced guys, Herbie Blash. I just think there was so much pressure put on the removal of Michael that that's not right. That's that was my personal feeling.
Should the FIA look back at it and review the race? They admit they got it wrong or not, or you think it's gone now?
It's done. It's done, and I think that he didn't actually do anything wrong.
No,
in accordance with the rules, and I think that. It's a bit of a smokescreen, because when you look back at that race, Mercedes had two opportunities to pit. There was a virtual safety car, and then there was a safety car, and the driver was asking to pit on both times, and they left him out, and that's what exposed him at the end of the race. That's tactically we got it right on the day, and
small margins.
It's so small margins.
Yeah.
Do you think that what they're going to bring in now is a rotation of race directors? They're going to alternate the role. Do you think that's going to help or hinder the sport?
It's not something personally I would do, because it'd be like rotating the race engineer or the team manager in our team. You sign up, you do all the races, and you want that consistency. But if they're not actual trackside, you'd hope that they'd be supporting remotely so that you've got that consistency. The one thing that the drivers want is a consistent application of the rules, rather than it changing or the penalties changing from race to race. And I think that's the challenge the FIA have got to obviously address this season.
How do you think will Ferrari be good next year?
Yeah, I think they're the dark horse. They were not in the championship fight last year. No. Big regulation change this year. They probably started earlier than any team. And they've been a sleeping giant for a few years now, and you just get the impression they might just be waking up. I never write off Ferrari.
We wondered, actually, we questioned whether or not Lewis Hamilton would come back. He obviously went quiet for quite a long time. He is now coming back. Do you think F1 is a better sport with him in it?
I think he was always coming back personally, but he's such a big personality. He's such a big name in the sport. Of course, having Lewis in the sport is a positive thing, and I think that's what made last year so valuable, to be the first driver to beat Lewis in the hybrid era since 2014 was such a massive, massive achievement for Max and for the team, with the dominance that they've had, the last few years.
Do you think, in terms of what the FIA have done in hindsight now, do they owe him any kind of apology? And if it were your racer, would you feel like your racer was owed any kind of apology with subsequent things that have happened, Michael Massey going, for example?
Well, you could argue that about 100 different decisions that were made during the course of the year. Was the penalty at Silverstone big enough? Was the penalties that we got in Jeddah, were they fair? There's so many things. I think it's time to turn the page, move on. There's a new president in the FIA. He's looking to put a new structure in place and embrace more technology to help, support those officials.
How dominant do you think Max could be? Because we know it took Lewis Hamilton
6 years, wasn't it?
6 years, yeah. So how dominant, and having known Max and seen what he can achieve, do you think he could have that same dominance?
Well, I think he's right up there. What you've got to remember is the car is a big factor in what we do. And, Lewis, before he went to Mercedes, had won one world championship. Since he's been at Mercedes, he's won another 6. In this hybrid era of the V6 turbo hybrid engines. And I think if we can give Max a car, I think currently he is the best driver in the world. And I think that at such a young age, he's got so much ahead of him. And I think it's really down to us to make sure we're giving him the tools to be able to, realise his talent.
Talk Sport Breakfast with Laura Woods, Monday to Wednesday mornings 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the Talk Sport app and on your smart speaker. Talk Sport.